Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. My name is KJ, and I am the host of Great Talking Entertainment official channel. And this is my spoiler review for episode 4 of the new Disney Plus series by Marvel Animation, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Again, this is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen this show, pause this, hit that thumbs up button, because that would totally help this YouTube channel grow. And I truly appreciate that. Go watch episodes 1 through 4 and come back and check and let me know how you guys feel about season 1 of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and let me know how you feel about this particular episode in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now let's get into it. This episode starts off with Peter Parker in class at the Oscorp building, just giving a presentation as he always does. He's very nervous, very nerdy-like, of course, because this is the typical Peter Parker, and he's trying to give a presentation of a project that he's working on for a grade, of course, and plus he's an intern, and the life lesson he's supposed to learn in this, which we see this life lesson come again for full circle, is Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, needs to learn to speak up and sell a good selling pitch point of what he's representing, who he is as a person, and, you know, don't let people walk over you, because he's a young man learning to get ready to work in the real world as a young adult. And we see his struggles, but then, you know, they didn't really do much enough with this story of that with him in class, because most of this episode is the main story of him just being Spider-Man, which I totally love. Because he gets called to Norman Osborn's office, this is the first time, or second time, no. This is the first time Peter Parker meets Harry Osborn. Now, Harry Osborn has already met Spider-Man, but Harry Osborn at this time and moment does not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and so this is kind of like a different way to introduce their friendship, because in comic books, and if you watch like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies directed by Sam Raimi, you know, him and Harry are always best friends. So there's a little bit of that, and of course there's a lot of MCU foreshadowing, because this is kind of like, to me, again, like I said in the past reviews, this to me feels like this is the a universe that's a parallel universe to MCU's Earth 616. You know, they seem very similar, but certain roles are just switched around, basically. And so throughout this episode, we learn that the Avengers have signed that good old Soviet contract. You know, it's basically saying from like the Captain America movie Civil War, where they agreed that they would only do Avengers / superhero stuff if the government asks for their help. Like, you only do it if the government says it. And of course, just like in this movie Civil War, Captain America Civil War, Iron Man suit and other Avengers agree to sign it, but other Avengers, including Captain America Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and etc., they disagree, and they're on the run, they're hiding. But if they don't sign it, this is very important, because if they don't sign it, this is how you go to prison for being a vigilante or a superhero. But Norman Osborn says, I'll take care of it, you know, because it scares a young adult guy, you know, or kid. And so we learn that, and they also mention the attack from New York from the first Avengers movie, and we see throughout this episode, Spider-Man's trying many suits made by Norman Osborn. And again, like, this would be somewhat of like, in the MCU, it's Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, who is making Spider-Man suits, upgraded his stuff. Because, we went from, I think there's 3 suits, really, that Tony Stark's made. And then, or not made, but made or gave Peter Parker the equipment to make his own suits. So it's kind of like that, but with Norman Osborn. And what's very interesting is we're seeing this mentorship between him and Norman Osborn, and it's just like Spider-Man and Iron Man in the MCU, of course. So again, there's that parallel universe. And then, there's many mistrials, and there were some neat ones. I mean, I liked the one that looked like the Black Panther one. That was pretty cool. But obviously, it scares little kids, so that's not a good thing to do. But we see through this episode what choice he chooses, and it seems to be the all-white suit, Spider-Man suit, which I believe that suit was kind of introduced in the Spider-Man video games on the PlayStation 4 and 5. But I'm not sure, but it looks like it. And also in this episode, we see the continuation of Lonnie's villain origin story, as him and the gang that he's stuck with are learning to bond in a way. But what's really interesting too is the Scorpion gang is literally the villain Scorpion, and they kind of like gave him a brief introduction just by the gang leader that Lonnie's with is explaining who he is, and I guess he's more dangerous than this guy. And so, there's a little mentorship going there. So what's really, again, like I said on the last review, is that I thought it was interesting that these two have the same story, but one's going to have the hero origin story, which is Spider-Man, which that's been starting since episode 1. And now Lonnie's villain origin story is really starting from episode 3 and this episode, and obviously will continue on. But they're setting it up where, in a way, that Lonnie is probably going to lose a lot of loved ones because they're not going to agree what he's doing. Like, we seen him give a rose to his girlfriend. We seen him in the last episode protect his little brother, but I feel like in the next episodes that Lonnie is going to do this more for himself, because now they're going to treat him like a family in a way. A little manipulation, but even Norman Osborn is manipulating Spider-Man in his way for his own selfish needs. And so, and I just want to point out too, and it's not a big complaint, but I feel like the gangs in this show are very cheesy. But again, this is for kids, so I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. And also in this episode, we see a lot of Spider-Man action, just trying to be Spider-Man. And there's a scene where he was chasing a Russian gang who were on a high chase run from the police, and they got some other cars and some wrecks, and there was many fires, and we see Spider-Man in his new all-white suit save a bunch of people from the explosion of cars that were caught on fire, basically. And, and then we see that Harry Osborn catches Spider-Man taking off his mask, and now he learns that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then this episode ends with the introduction of Dr. Octopus. And what I thought was cool about that is it looks like the same design from the 90s Spider-Man show. So that's how that episode ends. So let's get into some topics. So let's just start off with Dr. Octopus. Again, like I said, his design, it reminds me from when I used to watch the 90s Spider-Man cartoon show on Fox Kids. And I remember that, and that's how I remembered that character. And he had like the weird Beatles haircut, and he had those weird sunglasses, and he was a little, little bulky guy, but not too bulky. He had a dad bod basically, but that's how I remember him. Like, obviously, the live action one is totally different, and it's Sony's version and / the MCU at some point, but we see that, and I thought that was pretty cool. And this is why I like this show too, because it feels such like a good Spider-Man story. And now we're just getting more introductions to the Spider-Man villains of all the arcs of them. And this is real cool to start off him, because I feel like they're not ready to turn Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn into their villain characters, which is Hobgoblin and Green Goblin. But now they kind of set it up, though, a little bit, because I feel like now there's going to be a lot of jealousy between Harry Osborn over his dad being so close and paying more attention to Peter Parker. Because it's always been Peter Parker's have been always just a little bit book smart than Harry Osborn. But we're not saying Harry Osborn is dumb, nothing like that. Just Harry Osborn is a character that's always trying to earn his dad's approval, and when he sees his dad paying more attention to Peter Parker, because like he has that maybe in Norman Osborn's mind that Peter Parker is like kind of perfect. He's smart, intelligent, and he's a superhero, so he's the best of both worlds. Like, Spider-Man is that Marvel character that represents the characters that even Iron Man and Captain America can never be, because sometimes their past is a little tarnished. Even Spider-Man's like history is a little tarnished too. Like, that's when you get to the Venom and stuff. But I think the idea is that now, since later on in years, now they portray Spider-Man as a young kid and the Avengers all grown adults. So they switch it up where more it's like he's just becoming a young man, having young man problems, and he just needs to learn to grow up. And so now all the Avengers don't want Spider-Man to make those same mistakes that they made. So it's definitely like that too. Again, this is like a animation universe that's parallel to the MCU. They just seem so identical, just little differences. And those little differences are big differences to a lot of people who are reacting to all this, of course. So it's very important. So what I see is now is they're hoping to shoot a season 2, I'm assuming. But I feel like now they're showing Dr. Octopus. I think they want to hold off on the Green Goblin and Hobgoblin just a little bit, but I think this is going to be the start of that jealousy between Harry Osborn and over Peter Parker and his father, just bonding and hanging out and doing all these like activities that they're doing basically. And so there's that. I could see that. I think that's the route they're going to go with that. Now, let's talk about Spider-Man suits. Now, a lot of these are callbacks from a lot of, like, these suits are in a lot of Marvel comic books by Spider-Man. Not by Spider-Man, but of Spider-Man. And it's really cool to see those. Because, they're probably never going to get to all these suits and live actions like that as far as, like, the MCU goes. And with Tom Holland, like, maybe down after the next actor who plays Spider-Man may do that, but I don't think Tom Holland's gonna get to that point to rock all those particular suits. Now, I could be wrong. It's 2025, like, things change. But other than that, I love the plot of this story. I like where they're going, all these characters. And I like how they're giving every particular character a chance and teasing and foreshadowing a future, event that can make them superheroes or villains or whatever. And the idea that the Avengers exist, and it seems like they're basing it more off the Captain America Civil War movie and probably comic book, and I just haven't realized it. But we know they're on the run, and it seems like from what Norman Osborn is saying is we need the Avengers, and he wants to start the Avengers, which this could lead to the animation version of the Dark Avengers. You know, they've been teasing to do a live action of that for a long time, but this could be the idea of the start of seeing how people would actually react if they did the quote-unquote the Dark Avengers, which that's the comic book, which that was kind of like Norman Osborn as with the Iron Man suit, or was it War Machine suit? I can't remember, but it was one of those. But the idea of doing the Dark Avengers is kind of teased in this episode too, when Norman Osborn tells Peter Parker that, hey, we need the Avengers, like. And the fact that they just mentioned like the New York attack from the first Avenger was an obvious too for me. So I feel like Norman Osborn is trying to get in on the action with what's been going on, but just a parallel universe. So in this universe, Norman Osborn is the billionaire with all the money, but Tony Stark / Iron Man exists, so he's not the only billionaire, rich playboy, right? So there's that idea of it. But I thought it was very interesting, too, to see that go down like that. That they're kind of, in this show, doing that. But which would be so awesome, just because then you get to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man more. And I hope they focus more on that. But I also believe they're going to focus on the characters that they've been showing us. You know, I think Lonnie's story is going to be very important to where they go with this and how they end up with it. So I can't wait to see, and I can't wait to see Scorpion, like finally show Scorpion, like what's his outfit going to look like. And I can't wait to see what Dr. Octopus is going to be like in episode 5. So I can't wait for that. But other than that, if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely giving it a 7. Great episode. Again, I think my only nitpick about it again is just the gangs just seem so cheesy. But again, it's going towards kids, so you're not going to see like the gang violence like you would imagine a gang violence would actually look like. So I get that. But it was just a little cheesy to me, but it's the cartoon, no big deal. So I'm saying I love this show so far, and I loved the episode, and I love just seeing the other Spider-Man outfits. Like, it was just so cool. But yeah, that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.